If you're a reseller and you are still doing these things, then you're probably wasting a whole lot of time. Hi, my name is Rachel. I am a reseller on sites like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. I've been reselling online for over 15 years, and over the past year, reselling has been my single source of income while I raise my daughter. And I want to share with you some things that I actually stopped doing because I have found that they are a total waste of time. And if you want to make more money in your reselling business, you have to be efficient, and time is money. These things have helped me be more efficient, so I want to share my list with you today. If you like reseller content, consider subscribing to the channel. I do love sharing my tips and tricks with you here on this channel, and hit that like button if you could. That really helps out the channel a lot as well. It lets me know that you like this kind of content, and it lets me know to make more of it. So some of these may be a little bit of unpopular opinion, I guess, or just sort of outside of what the normal reseller advice is. So feel free to let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these. Just be respectful about it, please, in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started with my list. The number one and probably the biggest is I have stopped doing anything manually that I can do with automation. Two of the biggest being, number one, Posher VA for sharing and sending offers, and List Perfectly for cross-listing. So let me explain. Posher VA is an automatic tool that handles a lot of the tasks that you have to do on Poshmark manually. Posher VA is a browser extension that does those for me. So for example, sharing. I do not ever share my closet manually, ever. And also the other big thing that I use this for, it has lots of features, but the other big one I use it for is sending offer to likers. Posher VA takes those two biggest tasks off of my plate that need to be done daily that I no longer have to spend time doing. That's less than $1 a day for me to not have to spend hours doing those tasks myself. Typically, if I were to share manually, and I know on Poshmark you can go in the app and automatically share your closet. That ties up your phone. You have to stop what you're doing. You have to select all the items. It still takes time. And the other one too is the sending offer to likers. I would go through multiple times a day and just send offers to any new likers. You can set Posher VA to do that automatically. So that one is a no-brainer for me. It's like the best $25 I can spend in a month. Poshmark accounts for about 40% of my sales each month, although I sell across multiple platforms, which I'll talk about in a minute. But to take those tasks, potentially hours worth of work off my plate to spend photographing or drafting listings or sourcing or whatever, it's money well spent. There is a link down below, shameless plug. There is a link down below if you want to try Posher VA. You get a 14-day free trial, and then it's $25 a month, and you do get 20% off of your first month by using the link down below, or you can type in the code OHYEAH, and it will give you that 20% discount in that 14-day trial. But seriously, that is the biggest one. If you are still doing those tasks manually, you are wasting a ton of time, and you are potentially missing out on a lot of money by not doing other things you could be spending your time on. The other thing related to automation that really saves me a lot of time is cross-listing, and I do not manually cross-list. I use a software called List Perfectly. There are a few different ones out there, but List Perfectly is my software of choice. Like I said before, about 40% of my sales happen on Poshmark, and then the other 60% of my sales happen elsewhere. eBay is my next biggest one, followed by Mercari. I also make some sales on Citizen. I also make some sales on Vistair, and it is not worth your time whatsoever to manually cross-post those items to each different platform. Not only does it take up a ton of time and a ton of manual work to cross-post, but then when you sell the item, you have to delist from all the other platforms to avoid making a double sale, which takes a ton of extra time, and there's so much room for error when you leave that up to doing it manually. So really, if you're not willing to pay for a cross-posting service, then you have to in my opinion, it's most effective to just stick to one platform. Now, that being said, I make only 40% of my sales on Poshmark, if that's the one platform I might stick with, because it's where I technically make the most sales. And would some of the stuff that sold elsewhere sell on Poshmark eventually if I was only listing on Poshmark? Probably, like maybe some of it, but still I think it's great to have your items in front of a wide variety of people. Different marketplaces bring you different audiences, different brands sell better on one marketplace versus the other sometimes. So it's really, really, really worth it, in my opinion, even if you don't have a ton of inventory, to get it cross-posted. I use List Perfectly, and I use their Pro Plan Plus, which is $69 a month. Right now, you have to sign up for the Pro Plan and then you can opt into the Pro Plan Plus. But for $69 a month, I get the inventory management dashboard. I get the unlimited cross posting. There is literally like no limit on how many times you can cross post. I can delist and relist right in there. And when something is sold, the Pro Plus plan actually has the auto delist. So it pulls it down for me automatically and I don't have to worry about it double selling on another platform. So again, if we're talking time versus money, I could potentially spend hours a month, hours and hours and hours manually cross-posting just to make those extra sales on different platforms. Versus like if I were considering how much I would want to pay myself, $69, let's say you pay yourself $20 an hour. That's what you want to make is $20 an hour. Then that's like 3, maybe 4 hours worth of work to have automation do it for you in the entire month, if that makes sense. So cross-posting is a no-brainer. If you're trying to sell on multiple platforms and you are not using a cross-posting service, you are totally wasting your time and potentially losing out on a lot of money. I do have a link down below also for List Perfectly. I use the Pro Plan Plus. There are 3 different, well, technically 4 different tiers you can use. Pro Plan Plus is the highest tier, but the highest tier right now is $69 a month. And then there are 2 lower plans as well. You can take 30% off your first month and do a free trial of List Perfectly as well with code OHYEAH. And I share these services with you that I use because they work for me. Those 2 services, I seriously do not know where I would be with my business. There's no way I would have been able to scale my business with just like doing all this stuff manually. It is money well spent. It is a business expense. I'm able to write it off at the end of the year. So definitely like stop doing those things manually for the sake of saving 25 bucks a month or the sake of saving $69 a month. You will make that money back and then some, not only in the sales that you make, but in the time that you save. And your time is valuable too. So keep in mind with all of these things, your time is the most valuable of any of this. And those 2 tools save me a ton of time. The next thing that I stopped doing that helped me save a ton of time is thrifting. So I sell clothing, shoes, some accessories, but I used to, for the longest time, go out thrifting to source and find things to sell in my stores. Thrifting is so much fun and you can really find some great items that turn a great profit, but thrifting also is very time consuming and it's sort of a gamble in the sense that you could be out thrifting all day and find nothing. Or what I think is even worse sometimes is you can start to panic because you're not finding anything. So you pick up things that you ordinarily wouldn't pick up for the sake of having inventory to list, right? And so I've actually started ordering boxes from different liquidation companies and having my inventory shipped right to my door. I always have stuff to list. I'm not spending the time out thrifting at the thrift stores looking for stuff. I'm spending my time actually listing what's delivered to me. And sometimes it ends up costing a little bit more upfront to have this stuff shipped to me, or like the cost per piece is higher, but that is well made up for in the amount of time I don't spend thrifting because I have things constantly to list that I'm not going out and looking for. I still love thrifting. I do go thrifting every once in a while, but when I do, I can be much more like selective of what I pick up because I'm not desperate for inventory. And also I do it just because it's fun. And there's the element, especially if you are a full-time reseller or you're not, it's no longer a hobby, like you rely on the money that you make reselling. Thrifting can be stressful. It can be stressful when you're not finding things or if you're not finding good stuff. It can be really stressful. And so it's not enjoyable when it feels like work because you're like stressing about not finding the good stuff that you can resell. And so now I can truly use thrifting as a pleasurable experience, a fun hobby for myself. Bonus if I find some things to sell when I do go out thrifting, but I'm not necessarily relying on what I'm finding thrifting to sustain my business. Now, there are two companies, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I use Boutique by the Box and Helpsy for almost all of my inventory. Those two sites are linked down below. I have affiliate codes for those as well. You can take 10% off your order at each site. Code oh yeah. Type it in when you check out. It works on most of the boxes, but I'm telling you, like, it has saved me so much time than going to the thrift store. Therefore, saving me so much money because I'm freeing up my time to do other reseller related tasks that are necessary to sustain my business. The next thing that I stopped doing, and this is probably going to be the most controversial, I do not wash and I do not steam items unless I absolutely have to. This is more so, I guess, an issue or a task that comes along with thrifting because you're dealing a lot with secondhand items. I do buy secondhand items from like Helpsy Source, but even still, if it does not absolutely need to be washed, it does not get washed. And here's why. Hear me out on this one. Number one, you wash clothes, it's wasting water. You're using your household resources most likely. You're using your appliances, your water, your detergent. That's expenses that are just adding up. Number two, you're spending a lot of time washing things that probably don't even need to be washed. It's not great for the environment to wash things that don't need to be washed for the sake of them being clean. And also too, there's a good chance that whoever's buying your item is going to wash it when they get it, maybe. There's a good chance that whoever's buying your item doesn't like the laundry detergent that you use. And there's a good chance that if you're just throwing everything in the wash, you're adding washwear to a garment that basically lessening the condition and lessening the value of it. Or you potentially are not caring for the item, especially if it's a delicate fabric. You may not be caring for the item the way that it needs to be cared for, and you might ruin it altogether. So all of that being said, if I find an item that has obvious need to be washed, like, and this is probably a little more common if you're a bin shopper too, because sometimes that stuff, you have to wash it. I'm not saying all of it, but you sometimes do have to wash things if they clearly have, spots that you're trying to get out, or if they have an odor or whatever. There are times I may throw a thing or two in the wash, but I do know that some people prefer to just like wash everything that they bring home, and it's not productive. It is wasteful. It's impactful to the environment, and you're lessening the value of the items that you are selling. The other thing is steaming. I don't steam anything. Now, if you're selling items that are like very high dollar and you're expecting a very high return, I could see why maybe you would take the time to steam it. But if you're just like selling t-shirts and blouses, and it's generally in good condition, or not super wrinkled, like, no, I can't tell you. I have a steamer. I do have one just in case, but I can't tell you the last time I picked up a steamer. I take a photograph of the item. It is what it is. This is the actual item that you're getting. When I'm packing it, I'm going to fold it up and I'm going to put it in a poly mailer, and it's going to arrive at the customer's doorstep, not in the condition that the photo was taken, right? If I sit there and steam the item just for the photo, it's not necessarily going to arrive that way. Even if I nicely fold it, it's got to go through the mail. So, again, sometimes you just have to steam it, but like 99.9% of the time, if you're steaming items because you think you're disinfecting them or you're removing wrinkles for the photos, unless they are severely wrinkled, it is not worth, at least it's not worth my time. Again, that one's going to be controversial. You can feel free to disagree with me if you want. But I really feel like it is a huge time suck that we just don't need to be doing. Next up are the thank you cards and the gifts. If you are buying gifts to put in your packages for the sake of giving a free gift, there are so many reasons not to do that, more than there are reasons to do that. And the biggest argument people say that they do it is because They think buyers expect it, or they get really good feedback, like, oh, thank you for like the unexpected surprise kind of feedback. But here's the thing. Number one, you're buying probably cheap garbage. You don't know that the person you're sending it to wants it. You're making the person you're sending it to responsible for disposing of it, because chances are it is garbage. Let's be honest. And then some people send like candy or food. You have no idea what people's allergies are. You don't know what kind of weather conditions that item is going to encounter on its way from point A to point B. So like, I one time got a chocolate bar in a box and it like melted on my item. It's just not, don't do it. Don't spend your money. Don't make your customer responsible for figuring out what to do with the item they didn't ask for in the first place. Just send your items on time, package it securely so that it arrives in the right condition. And I'll tell you, I sell hundreds and hundreds of items a month. I do not send gifts in my packages. And I can't tell you the last time somebody gave me a less than 5-star review with the reason being I didn't get a free gift, or like there was no handwritten thank you note, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about. Like, that is, if you get somebody that says that, it's like a huge one-off, like very few and far between. And that person like should not make you decide to start doing those things just because they left a comment like that. The overwhelming majority of customers don't expect it and they don't want it. The other thing, like I mentioned, is thank you notes. I do put a thank you card in my packages, but I spent a little money. I had them pre-printed. I'll show you mine here. And this is for the purpose of driving them to my stores and my social media channel, right? Instagram, YouTube, and then my Poshmark eBay. I think that's different from a thank you note. Like, if you're taking the time to hand write out a thank you note, it's not necessarily going to bring people back to your store, because you know, Poshmark and eBay, they're marketplaces. People are buying items from whoever's selling the item they want. Some people have like repeat buyers, but those are like, unless your closet is carefully curated or unless you have some super unique item, it's not worth it to sit down and write out thank you cards. It's really not. If you want to drive traffic to your social media channels, if you want to drive traffic to your stores, that's one thing. Get them printed, throw them in there. They're recyclable. Mine are printed on paper. So if the customer doesn't want this, it's recyclable. They can throw it in the recycle with the packaging. But that's it. It takes me zero less time. I had these printed on Canva and it's like really, really inexpensive to buy a large quantity. And then I just toss them in the package. So stop writing out thank you notes. You're not helping anybody and you are wasting your time. The next thing that you're literally wasting your time and your energy doing, if you're doing this, is arguing or trying to educate your buyers. I see time and time again, people will get like a lowball offer on Poshmark per se, and they'll take the time to like go try to educate or inform the buyer about like what an appropriate offer is or why they won't accept the offer. Like, accept it, decline it, counter. My strategy for what I do when, that's for a different video. But either way, they're trying to do business with you. They are offering you what they think the product is worth. If you don't want to accept it, don't accept it. You don't know if they are educated or not on how the Poshmark process works. It is not your job. It is not your responsibility to inform them of Poshmark etiquette or eBay etiquette or whatever. It is not necessary on your part. Just treat it as a business transaction. Nobody is trying to personally offend you with their offers or their questions or whatever. Just make a decision on how you want to move forward and move forward. Keep it moving. And along those same lines, this is absolutely 100% a waste of your time if you are going on social media and complaining about your buyers. You are helping nobody. You are perpetuating negativity and you are wasting your time. I'm on Instagram. I'm sure you guys, some of you guys follow me on Instagram. I'm a little more active these days on YouTube. But I see it anytime I open my Instagram and I scroll through my feed. It is inevitable. I am going to find posts where people are complaining about buyers, about lowball offers, about return requests, about about the platforms and the changes they're made, like all kinds of like complaints, not even like productive, like here's what happened and here's how I dealt with it. Like I'm trying to educate other resellers on like, here's a scenario I ran across and here's how I handled it. No, it's like this person's a jerk because they offered me $10 on my $100 item, or this person is ridiculous because they asked me this question about this item, or this person's trying to scam me because they're putting in a return request for this reason. Like you getting on social media, because not only have you taken the time to make the post, now you're taking the time to answer everybody's comments. You're hoping people are going to agree with you. You're getting upset if they disagree with you. It is literally a mental energy suck and a total waste of your time. So if you are somebody, you know who you are. If you are somebody that likes to get on social media and complain about your buyers, best case scenario, you're wasting your own time. Worst case scenario, either the person that bought from you is going to see it, especially if they're a reseller and they're in the community, or you're going to put off other people that potentially may have bought from you, but now they're like, oh, this person gets way too emotional about the stuff they're selling. Like I would never buy from that person. So either way, it's not a good look unless you're doing it for the purpose of educating other resellers of like, here's how I handled this scenario, which I do sometimes. It is not worth your time. Trust me, it's not worth your energy. It's not worth your time. You are running a business. Treat everything as a business transaction and keep it moving. Well, that's my list of things that I no longer do to save myself time, save myself money, and open myself for more important reseller tasks and making my business more efficient. Let me know what I missed. Is there something that you were once doing as a reseller that you just decided, this is no longer worth my time, I stopped doing it? Let me know in the comments if there's something I forgot to add to this list. I'm sure there are lots of things that you have found waste your time as well. I am loving doing these strategy type videos, so make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this, where I talk about tips and tricks and just what works for me in my reseller business. I want to share with you so that hopefully it helps you in your reseller business. Again, hit that like button on the way out. That lets me know you like this kind of content. It lets me know to make more of it. But that's it for today, friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.